The caterhamracer.com Season 10 270R Championship is sponsored by DPR Motorsport, your competitive advantage, and by 1-to-1 on-track coaching and simulator training with Ryan Hooker. We're supported by FP0 Simulators.
Well, a very good evening, race fans, and a very warm welcome to round 4 of the caterhamracer.com 270R Championship. And this week the action comes to you from the legendary home of British motorsport here at Silverstone. We're on the full Grand Prix circuit, one of the longest circuits used by the Caterham 270R Championship. Real Caterham racing in a virtual world, and great weather conditions we are blessed with for today's racing. A decent crowd in attendance, as you can see in the grandstands as well, to witness these very closely matched cars hammer around one of the most famous circuits in all of world motorsport. My name is Dave Goddard, taking you through the action here this evening across our 2 races, and I'm joined in the commentary box as always by Chris Hutchinson. Chris, good evening.
Good evening, everybody. Apologies if I'm a bit croaky at some points today. I'm just getting over a bout of illness. But it's great to have everybody back on board, and great to see our drivers heading out around this legendary track here. And reminder that everyone that a lot of the drivers you're seeing out here tonight will be racing for real here in a couple of weekends' time. So it's good practice from our real world racers, and some of our sim drivers, they just love getting involved. And we're looking forward to bringing you some what is going to be a different type of racing to Zandvoort, really. This is a massively open, wide, fast, dedicated track, especially in the Caterham, which is such a small machine in real life. That actually, I think 4 wide is going to be a real possibility tonight.
Well, it'd be great to see, especially down the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight past the famous wing building. The drivers out qualifying at the moment. We'll bring you an update on the times as they come in. So 6 races down this year in the championship. Last round at Zandvoort in the Netherlands, of course, we saw some of the closest racing we've seen so far, even bettering Alton Park and Croft. Here at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuits for round 4. That's followed up by Thruxton in July. Then in August we go to Snetterton and to Donington Park as well to conclude the 7 rounds of the championship. Zandvoort was superbly close, but it was a familiar name at the top in both races, with Max Haynes taking his 4th and 5th wins of the campaign. Just 1 defeat for him so far to Christian Szaruta in race 2 of the season at Alton Park. Christian second in the points with Brian Hooker in 3rd, and David Rowe, who was, some felt was a bit unlucky at Zandvoort not to pick up a win. But things are going to be a bit different tonight, because Super Max, as we've called him this season, is not out tonight. His car, I believe, not ready after some preparation work after the Zandvoort round. So we're going to see some new winners tonight, maybe, Chris.
Yeah, the only other person on this grid who's won this year is Christian Szaruta. He is out there. But yeah, I would say there's a high possibility we're going to be able to see some other winners, and plenty of drivers here. 18 on the A grid with us today, and there's a B grid going on as well. But yeah, we've seen plenty of people on those podiums throughout the season, but it's maybe the time for Ryan Hooker to take that step up. David Rowe's had a topsy-turvy year, and there's plenty of other people back here in action tonight who will be capable of getting onto that grid. And you can see in qualifying, it's looking like a race right now, with everyone following absolutely nose to tail as they stream over the line. You'll see down the left-hand side of your screen the tower of the fastest times so far.
Well, let's have a look at a lap of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. The first corner, the right-hander is at Abbey. We ride on board with James Fowler. Then it's through towards Farm. The left-hander up towards the right-hander. The brakes come on into Village Corner over the new infield section over the last few years. Then it's the left-hander at the loop, possible overtaking opportunities through there. The second left-hander at Aintree, named after the former home of the British Grand Prix, takes the cars into the Wellington Straights. Along this straight, we'll certainly see some slipstreaming in the races today. Down under the bridge past the BRDC clubhouse on the right, you can see Fowler having a look on the inside. They go into the left-hander at Brooklands Corner, named after Britain's first racing circuit. The first ever British Grand Prix was held there back in 1926. Then it's the double right-hander at Luffield 1 and 2, as some call it, and then the right-hander past the entrance to the National Pits, as they're now known, at Woodcote. It's along the straight past the old pits, down towards Copse Corner. Again, overtaking opportunities existing here, but Copse is a pretty daunting corner. Very easy to run wide over the curbs and towards the gravel through here. James Fowler taking a perfect line through there on the inside. We see on the timing tower it's Ryan Hooker, who is currently the fastest ahead of Will Stillwell. It's up this small rise into the left-hand flick of Maggots and into the Beckett's complex, into the right-hander, then the left and then the right again. A real scary series of corners, whatever car you're in. The single-seaters go through at an undreamed of speed through there. Then it's through the left at Chapel and onto the Hanger Straight. The speed really mounts here down under the bridge. The circuit dropping down into the equally daunting right-hander at Stowe Corner. James Fowler going for the outside, and Alan Curtis here. They run side by side into Stowe. Again, very easy to run off wide there, as Michael Schumacher found out in 1999 when he went straight on into the barriers in the Ferrari. And it's along the Vale and up towards the Club Corner complex at the end of the lap. Tricky little section, this one, into the left-hander. And James Fowler a little bit late on the brakes there for the left-hander. Then it's through to the right, this lengthening right-hander. You can see James a little bit crossed up through there, and then back onto the Hamilton Straight, and that's the end of a lap of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
Quite an eventful lap, that one. You could see he was absolutely... He started the lap too close to Alan Curtis and was compromised all the way through pretty much, but as he came to the end he tried to give himself a gap, but suddenly there were people behind him, David Rowe and a number of others, who ended up giving him a shove where he wasn't going up to speed. So not the ideal way. You want your qualifying lap to go, and obviously that didn't work out very well, with down in 15th at the moment as this absolute gaggle of cars. One other thing we did see was how he was able to close that with Alan quite consistently, and that's the little toe that we have even in the simulator. It's not quite as strong as it is in real life, but there is still a toe there, and Alan Curtis continues to pound around at the front with James Fowler right on his tail there. That's not good for either of their laps, but one person who's just shoved it in third place there is Paul Ferniehoff, and what a great result. Through the week he's had a good old result on our sort of practice days or practice races, so it's good to see whether he can carry that through now into the championship event.
Well, Paul Ferniehoff in the patchwork liveried car, as we call it, only 9th in the championship at the moment, while James Fowler is only 32nd. We've only seen him at Alton Park on the A grid this year, so he needs to make up the points. Christian Szaruta has gone quickest with just over 6 minutes of the session to go. He's dipped under the 2 minutes 30 bracket with a lap a tenth of a second quicker than Ryan Hooker. Jaroslav Cherny has gone third, the Czech Republic driver. And here's the youngest man on the grid, Hudson Knight. I've commentated on him racing Citroen C1s in the sim racing world in the past, and he's a very quick young racer indeed, is Hudson. His father Jason is also out on the grid tonight. It's their first appearance of the season, so they're certainly going to be ones to watch here. Hudson is currently up in 6th place, so doing very well indeed. Jason down in 14th on this 18 strong grid. Szaruta quickest ahead of Hooker, Churdy, Paul Ferniehoff up there in 4th, and it's Will Stillwell in 5th position. Came within a corner of taking a win in the Caterham Graduate Series at Snetterton earlier this season. Hudson Knight is next, then Tom Willis lies in 7th. Again, we've only seen him on the A grid at Alton Park this year, so he wants to make up for championship points. 8th place is Andrew Parker. Chris Skillicorn, good to have him back out. We didn't see him at Zandvoort. He's 9th quickest. There's his car with the red and green stripe down the middle of the black car, and Stephen Arnell in his yellow machine, a winner at Brands Hatch in the Caterham Grads earlier this season in his Caterham Superleggera, as it became after losing the nose cone on the bonnets. Yes, I'm going to keep reminding you about that, Steve. Rounds out the top 10.
Yes, I'm sure we won't ever tire of hearing about that. But it is great, like say, to welcome some of these drivers back onto the A grid, and hopefully a little later in the year we'll get everyone back in. We'll have a real crescendo to this championship. But yeah, good to see Skillicorn there in his black machinery. He's been with us for many years on the service, and Hudson Knight's obviously he's a previous racer with us as well, so it's good to welcome him back after a couple of years off, and he's been welcomed back onto the grid and proving very, very quick. So keep an eye out for him as the night progresses.
So we've got just over 4 minutes of qualifying to go, so that's only time for a couple more flying laps, but it's a long lap here at Silverstone as Chris Skillicorn heads out of Aintree up towards the Wellington Straight. Here's David Rowe. He's had a quiet session so far, only down in 13th place, the man behind DPR Motorsports. He had a bit of work to do after Zandvoort, just looking after a couple of the cars. Szaruta, I believe, is one of his drivers, who's currently quickest, the Brawn GP lookalike livery car, the white and Dayglow yellow. He's gone quicker again, 0.156 clear now of Ryan Hooker, the green and white number 121 car, the 121 driver coaching instructor. Szaruta and Hooker first and second. Jaroslav Cherny looking to bump them off the front row. He's only 0.003 of a second down on Ryan Hooker at the moment. Paul Ferneyhoff still in 4th place. Giovanni Lenz goes 12th quickest. David Rowe still only down in 13th. Now, I thought he'd be one of the front runners here, so plenty of chance for him to improve over his last couple of laps.
Yeah, we saw how much he was involved in that sort of group racing that was going on in qualifying, which is, again, great for a tow, but also if anyone mucks up, then it obviously ruins your lap as well. Christian Szaruta on a racing sabbatical at the moment, very much in the sim world rather than the real world, but he's certainly an ex-DPR racer, an old championship contender with me. I've raced with him many years, and it's good to... He's transferred very well into the sim world and in his machinery that's out there. But he is going to be encouraged to get back to real world racing very shortly. I am sure of it. So good luck to see that. But yeah, how are we going to see this end shuffle itself out? Like I say, not very much longer to set a new lap. I think most of them will get one more lap out of it. And then some of the drivers choosing, as you can see on screen now, to have a little bit more of a lonely time. And I think not you know, they're showing at the top of the screens as well, so I think that says that probably getting on better by just being out there on your own right now.
So we've got just over 2 minutes to go, so over the line goes Szaruta. He goes quicker again, 2:29.856. He's getting quicker and quicker. What can Ryan Hooker do? He goes quickest, 2:29.821 for Ryan Hooker, and David Rowe now goes to the top, 2:29.562. The times are tumbling. They left their attack late in this qualifying session. David Rowe up from 13th into provisional pole position. Alan Curtis improving further back. He moves from the back up to 15th place. It's Rowe from Hooker. Szaruta now off the front row. Somebody running wide there. That's John Lang in the purple and yellow number 48 that ran wide there. He's got out of the way of the number 40 of James Fowler. Where is James? Currently 17th, so on the back row as it stands at the moment. But it's David Rowe in provisional pole position in the number 6 car ahead of Ryan Hooker. Szaruta, Cherny, Paul Ferneyhoff down onto the 3rd row. We've got somebody going off there coming out of Aintree. We'll try and pick up who that is. It's it's Steve Arnott, who's had a spin coming out of Aintree. I don't think there was any contact there. He's going to be able to rejoin. Szaruta heading through that's Luffield, I think, up towards Woodcote, chasing Ryan Hooker. Chris Skillicorn in front of them, so perhaps trying to catch a tow there as they come down the straight into the tricky Cops corner. Yeah,
so could see Szaruta waiting on the previous the Wellington Straight for cars to be in front of him. He's clearly done as much as he thinks he can do in clean air. That's left him in 3rd place, so he's going to see whether he's got time for one more lap in the tow of the 2 quick drivers in front of him, Skillicorn and Hooker. Whether they'd be willing to give him that tow, I don't know yet. And most of this grid now covered by the 2nd. Everyone covered by 2 seconds, so that last lap was crucial for all our drivers. It sort of brought everyone really close together, and as you can see by the gaps showing on the timing screen there's very little between everyone on the A grid.
Just over a quarter of a second between David Rowe and Ryan Hooker. Ryan Hooker in the green and white car there. I have to smile seeing the DRS marker there. No DRS on these cars. They're evenly matched enough that they can slipstream and out drag each other without the need for it, as Ryan Hooker's trying to do to Chris Skillicorn there, trying to catch a toe off him. They go through this long right-hander at Stowe corner. Christian Szaruta just lurking behind them, and Hooker's pulled out of the way. In fact, he's pulling over, so a problem possibly as the checkered flag goes out. Yes, Ryan Hooker has stopped, so whether that's a problem, we hope it's not, and he's able to start the race because he's provisionally 2nd on the grid at the moment.
I think it's because we got the time run out now, so we've got 0 time left. He wasn't going to make it to the line in time, so he decided he was going to pull off there instead. And in fact, we're seeing a lot of drivers pull down the pit lane. On their dashboards, they've all got their little V-box as they would in real life. They can see whether they're up or down on their previous lap. You can see Ferneyhoff here's a couple of or 7/10 down, I think, on his best, so he's not likely to improve, but we shall watch him as he's going to go and complete his lap through. Currently in 6th place, and I think that might be a season's best for him. Certainly a great result.
Well, he's just lost 5th because Will Stillwell has gone up to 5th from that last lap, so Paul's going to try and wrest that back from him here. It comes onto the Hamilton straight, past the imposing wing building. Does Stillwell improve back up? Does Fernihoe improve back up, I should say? No, he doesn't. And it looks like that's just about everybody in now for this qualifying session.
Few people driving around. If I make the map bigger, we'll see if anyone else is on one. I think most people there have completed. We've got someone just a bit down in the nether regions. Let's see whether Ian's got any. Yep, I think everyone is back in the pits, so let's go and have a look at the times they set then.
Okay, we'll have a look at the lap times. And pole position it is David Rowe for race number 1, setting a 2:29.562, 0.259 of a second clear of Ryan Hooker in 2nd place. 3rd quickest Christian Szaruta ahead of Jaroslav Czerny. Will Stillwell and Paul Fernihoff will line up on the 3rd row. Then row 4, it's Steve Arnell and John Lang. Chris Skillicorn and Tom Willis round out the top 10. 11th quickest, it's Hudson Knight ahead of Andrew Parker. Then Ian Joyner and Gianni Lenz. Jason Knight and Alan Curtis on row 8, and completing the grid, James Fowler and Lee Green. So just under 2 seconds covers the full grid. It might be even closer than that come the race.
I think it probably will, with them all running nose to tail. I think 2 seconds is plenty tight enough, especially around such a long lap. You know, we're talking, it's 3.5 miles, something like that around here. It's a long old way around the Silverstone track, and there's plenty of corners there that are dividing these people by very little, as it shows.
Okay, so this is going to be a close one then. No Max Haynes, the winner of 5 of the 6 races held so far, so we will see either a double for Christian Szaruta for the season. If not, it's going to be a new winner. It'll be a 15-minute race. The second race, the grid is based on the results of race 1. So we'll await the drivers to line up in just a moment on the grid alongside the famous wing. I remember when I made my first visit to Silverstone, it was back in 1997. The wing wasn't even thought of back then. It was a very different place indeed. So much development has taken place on the Silverstone circuit over the years. That was for the FIGT Championship, I remember. It was FIGT 1 and Formula 3000, but something quite different here today.
Yeah, absolutely. One of many developments that they've happened over the years at Silverstone. It's obviously a constantly evolving beast, and it's great to see it in its current valve, and the wing is certainly an impressive addition. We still occasionally run out the top end of the track though, so that old pits and the historic pits with the BLEC complex there as well is still very much in use and loved, and obviously it's still part of this circuit. But for the sim race, we are running out of the wing.
So on the grid then, David Rowe in pole position, the black and white car with the green roll cage, the DPR Motorsport machine. Ryan Hooker in car number 121, the green and white car alongside him. On the second row, Christian Szaruta in the Brawn GP lookalike, the white and Dayglow yellow. Then the red car is Jaroslav Czerny completing the second row. Great to see Will Stillwell up there in the black car with the yellow cage on row 3. Then it's Paul Fernihoff in his patchwork liveried machine completing the third row. A similar patchwork livery with the yellow background for Stephen Arnell in there as well. So 18 cars on the grid for what will be a 15-minute race. We're about to get this one underway. I see a few of you watching and commenting on our stream already. Come on, Lee Green, says Daniel Mitchell. His car is lined up at the back of the grid. Hello to Gemma Dixon, and hello to Sender as well, who says Team DPR, let's go. Thanks for your comments. Keep them coming in. We'll try and read them out as and when we can, if we get a moment during this race. So waiting for the red lights to come on then. Who's your money on, Chris?
It'd be good to see David Rowe have a good night, because I think his championship season needs one. Ryan Hooker's been so close to those podiums all the way. We've got the lights coming up though.
Here we go then, the red lights are on. Race 1 here at Silverstone for the caterhamracer.com 270R Championship is underway. And down towards Abbey they go for the first time. It's a good start by both the front row men. Decent getaway from Christian Szaruta as well. It's David Rowe who will slot into the lead. They go through Abbey for the first time. Szaruta in third place behind Ryan Hooker. They fan out 3 abreast at the back. Through the left-hander at Farm they go. Then up towards the right at Village. David Rowe on the inside, Ryan Hooker on the outside. Flashes of flame from the exhaust as they brake and lift off for Farm corner there. It's up towards the loop. Ryan Hooker trying to go around the outside as they go into this long left-hander up towards the left flick at Aintree, and David Rowe has just about held his lead ahead of Ryan Hooker. Third is Szaruta, fourth Cherney, Will Stillwell is fifth, John Lang with a good start up into sixth position. Watch them fan out now as they come down the Wellington Straight into Brooklands. They chop and change from one side of the circuit to the other, but I think David Rowe has just about done enough to hold his lead into the left-hander.
Not an easy job though around a track so wide as this. You can see how many Caterhams you could run side by side. Ryan Hooker looking to see whether he could squeeze down the inside, but David Rowe moved across in one consistent swoop to make sure that didn't happen, and Hooker went back to the outside. Not an easy job, as you can see, to hold off this swarming pack, and those nearly all nose to tail still as we get to the second half of this lap.
Down the National Pit Straight up towards Copse Corner, and David Rowe weaving about to try and protect his lead. Christian Szaruta up there on the outside. Cherney in fourth place in the red car. They all fan out behind. This is going to be fun as they come up towards Maggots and Beckett's for the first time. Jaroslav Cherney trying to hold off Will Stillwell for fourth position, and Ryan Hooker trying to make a move as they go into Maggots. Mind our camera on the curb there. David Rowe is just about held it there. There are five of them line astern. They pulled away very slightly from the rest of the pack as we look from our tower camera. What a fantastic shot that is, looking down at the Beckett's complex. You can see just how close they run through there. Five cars line astern through Chapel and up towards the Hanger Straight. It's Rowe, Hooker, Szaruta, Cherney and Stillwell down into Stowe Corner, and I think Ryan Hooker has managed to draft his way into the lead. Indeed he has. Szaruta into second. Have we lost David Rowe? We have. David Rowe has, he must have pulled up on the Hanger Straight somewhere. We've lost David Rowe. We've lost Lee Green as well.
What's happened to those two? Yeah, I don't know what's happened to those. Maybe a jump start, but penalty would have applied once they got back to the pits. So don't know why those two have been showing as a DNF right now. Maybe an internet issue or connection dropout. They are both running from the DPR workshop in Red Hill, so maybe there's something to do with that. But as we've got this battle for four in diamond formation.
Look at that. They are going to go four wide almost down into Abbey. Look at this. Jaroslav Cherney up there on the inside. Can he take the lead? Christian Szaruta led as they completed the lap. Cherney alongside him now. Ryan Hooker's tucked in behind. This is like a NASCAR race. They're drafting like they're at Daytona. And look at that. Will Stillwell sends it up the inside. They're never going to get through there in one piece. Somehow they've managed it. Who's going to come out of this with the lead? Christian Szaruta leads into the loop, then through into Aintree. My goodness, that was incredible. And this is only the second lap.
Yeah, that was incredibly close there. I think later in the race we might see that end more in tears. John Lang looking like he wants to get involved, as well as Skillicorn coming up behind as well. But this front four in diamond formation was about as split up as they got. Now they're in a T formation as they come in. Christian Szaruta has lost that lead now to Cherney, but Will Stillwell remains in that third place, and somehow he did the dive bomb but managed to pull out of the sort of T-bone effect that was going to be incoming. Ryan Hooker's the big loser at the moment, dropping to fourth place, but with the action up front, I'm not sure that fourth place is going to stay like that for long.
Well, John Lang is catching them, and so is Chris Skillicorn as well. It's going to be six for the lead shortly. Jaroslav Cherney now has it as they come out of Woodcote up towards the National Pit Straight. Then it's Christian Szaruta tucked in behind him, down towards Copse Corner. I think David Rowe must have pulled off under the bridge on the Hanger Straight. We didn't see him go out, unfortunately, but his bad luck this season has struck again. They head out towards Maggots then. There's John Lang, the purple car, looking for what could be his best results of the season. We look from our tower camera. They're almost three abreast again on the run through Maggots. It looks like it's the red car that's in front of Cherney. Indeed it is. There's Szaruta, the white car, alongside the black machine. That is Will Stillwell right on his rear axle. Then fourth is Hooker. It's Lang in fifth place, Chris Skillicorn. Then the next group for seventh, headed up by Stephen Arnell in the yellow machine. Everybody else tucked in behind. We lost Lee Green on the first lap as well. As the four leaders head together down towards Stowe, we're going to see any moves made here. Yes, Christian Szaruta makes a move to the inside. He's having a look. He's going through. Christian Szaruta takes the lead as they go into the Vale.
Yeah, classic overtaking that one, drafting down the top half of the Hanger Straight and then just pulling to that inside. Right now, Cherney not defending heavily, but Christian having to cover off the rear touch. Oh, Will Stillwell, late move there and barges Cherney. Not a good one. That would have gone straight up to the race stewards had that been a real race move. But Cherney is still up and running in that second place. So Stillwell now having to use his mirrors to check for the progress of Ryan Hooker, who's now pulling to the inside as they come up to Farm this time through.
Well, they head towards Abbey Farm and Village, and this is more like motorcycle racing at the moment, not Caterham racing. They're flinging these cars around with absolute abandon, especially Will Stillwell in there. He's making some very brave moves in that third place. He doesn't want to be too foolhardy. We don't want any collisions. John Lang closing up, so is Chris Skillicorn. 0.27 of a second in. It's at the last timing point for the lead between Szaruta and Cherney as they come out towards Aintree, then the Wellington Straight. There is Will Stillwell, just tucked in that third place, looking for his first win of the season. Looking at the points, he's down in 16th in the championship because he missed the trip to the Netherlands. Ryan Hooker will have a look down the inside as they go into Brooklands. Doesn't get close enough to make a move. Cherney's gone a little bit wide there. He tried a move but wasn't close enough. He's gone wide on the exit. Stillwell doesn't mean asking twice. He goes through into second place. I think a pause for breath is needed as they head towards Woodcote this time.
Yeah, it seems like Ryan Hooker is almost kind of I would say he's going to happy to sit in that fourth place, but I don't think he is. He's drinking all over the place around the rear of Cherney's car as they head off around Woodcote once more. Stillwell finds himself in that second place after questionable diving down the inside of Vale, but everyone's facing in the right direction. Cherney back up his inside as they head through Copse this time for the first to start. Well, it's not the start of the lap. I keep getting myself confused. This is the old start of the lap.
Yeah, the start of the national lap. But, this is halfway round the Grand Prix circuit here at Silverstone. Christian Szaruta now making a bit of a break as those behind him start to scrap. He's pulled out a lead of about a second over the last half a lap or so. Ryan Hooker up the inside takes that second place. Now it's all change in what's going to be a five-way battle for second shortly because Lang and Skillicorn have closed in slightly as well. Yes, Jaroslav Cherney, you can see, has run wide there coming out of Chapel and down towards the Hanger Straight and then into Stowe. Ryan Hooker goes side by side with him. Will Stillwell, oh, there might have been a bit of contact there. He nearly puts himself onto the grass. He's going to go for the inside into Stowe, though, and he goes through. This is like watching Micro Machines looking down from this angle in our helicopter camera. Brilliant. Yeah,
absolutely. I've had many Micro Machines races just like that, but Stillwell pushing far too hard on the inside there on far too acute an angle, and that sent him wide and ultimately lost out in that encounter. And now he's got John Lang, another contact between Cherney and Stillwell. Stillwell sent sideways to the left and Cherney continues on. John Lang going to be the winner in that one. He's made himself up into third place.
Well, you've been able to see that coming since the race started. Actually, that just boiled over there coming through the club complex. So there goes Szaruta in the lead. Hooker now in second. It's Lang up to third. And Chris Skillicorn is on his tail. We didn't see him out at Zandvoort. John Lang, fifth in the championship at the moment, and looking for what I think will be his first podium of the season. But he's under fire from Skillicorn as they go through the right-hander at Village up towards the loop. Well, Cherney's kept going. He's in fifth place. Now, where has Will Stillwell come back out? We'll wait and see if he has. He's dropping down the timing screen, as is James Fowler at the moment, so I think he may have been caught up there as well. 13th place for Will Stillwell as the leaders head down the Wellington Straights. There he is.
Yeah, not a good sequence for our lead group there. Like you said, it was a very angry mob for many a lap, and Cherney did well to recover that car as quickly as he did. Ryan Hooker now finds himself 1.6 seconds behind our leader, Christian Szaruta, who's kind of disappeared off and chuckling in his rearview mirror right now with David Rowe having an off night. Remember, he's the only other driver on the grid this year who's managed to dethrone Max Haynes from that lead. Max not here this evening. I've also noticed that Arnell and Ferneyhoff have been having an absolute ding-dong, and they've been met by Gianni Lenz, who's getting involved. And I think it was Gianni that was maybe had a great race with Paul Ferneyhoff last time out. So good to see these three out on track. Equally battles the same all the way up and down this field.
Andrew Parker's come through as well. He's going well up there in sixth position. Hasn't had the best of luck so far this year. Behind this group is Tom Willis. He's in the white car, completing the top 10 at the moment. But it's Szaruta who leads, the reigning champion, looking for his second win of the season. Hooker in second. There's Lang and Skillicorn. Cherney on his own in fifth as he tries to recover. Then Parker, and then this fight between Arnell, Ferneyhoff, Lenz and Willis. The blue car is Jason Knight, who started on the back row. Ian Joyner is in behind him in 12th. Then James Fowler 13th. Will Stillwell still going down in 14th. Then it's Hudson Knight, the youngest man on the grid, in 15th. Then Alan Curtis, the final runner, in 16th. As down towards Stowe Corner they come. It's almost three wide once again.
Absolutely. I wonder what happened to Hudson Knight. He was making some good progress early and now looks to have faded away. Certainly 4-second gap says that there's been some issue as we continue to see this battle. I do need to bring back to the Skillicorn has now got ahead of John Lang in their fight to try and get back up onto the rear of Ryan Hooker, who's also trying to chase down Szaruta. But it's definitely spread out here at the front, and the closest battle we've got is definitely the trio we were watching on track.
Well, this race has flown by. There's less than 5 minutes of it to go, as Christian Szaruta leads Ryan Hooker by just under 2 seconds. A similar margin back to Skillicorn and Lang, then Cherney in 5th position, Parker 6th. There's Paul Ferniehoff in 7th. He's escaped slightly from Lenz and Tom Willis, who are fighting it out. Steve Arnell has fallen back there. He's now in the clutches of Jason Knight, the blue car there with the white wheels, having a look on the inside. And they've got Ian Joyner in behind them in 12th. Will Stillwell has got ahead of James Fowler, back up into 13th place, be some 5 seconds behind this group now. That's Steve Arnell. It's been a bit of an up and down race for him so far.
Yeah, definitely not the middle phase that he'd wanted there. He was fully involved in that battle. We didn't see quite how it dropped away, but since they're all running so close, it's only one slight mistake's going to be the difference between continuing on. We've got John Lang spinning down there as well, so he's... Oh, and Andrew Parker, so... Andrew Parker manages to continue on. That was fairly hefty clout, though. John Lang obviously should be a bit more careful with that restart. Just rejoining like in real life, just on the simulator. We do ask our drivers to make sure the track is clear. Parker was still heading around that corner, but that might see damage for them both. I hope Parker's car's okay, as we saw that how dangerous a rejoin can be in the path of another car.
That means Chris Skillicord is now on his own in 3rd. Jaroslav Cherney is back up into 4th position, and Parker in 5th. Paul Ferniehoff is now 6th. It's as if nobody wants that 3rd place, isn't it? Every time someone gets into 3rd, they make a mistake or go off. So Christian Szaruta leads from Ryan Hooker. Skillicorn in 3rd position. Chris began racing with the Caterham Academy back in 2020, then the grads in 2021 and 2022. And this will be his best results of the season so far. Side by side there through Beckett's. I think that's the recovering John Lang possibly involved there. It could have been the battle for 10th position.
I think we were watching Stillwell and Fowler. That's the black car with the yellow car, and then Fowler is the grey car with the orange roll cage. And there is Hudson Knight following along in the red with the yellow roll cage as they all head down Hanger Straight, but only 2 minutes 34 to go. So, maybe just over a lap to head. Where is Christian as he heads on here? So he hasn't started the lap. And so, yeah, it's a great, well, coming into the final stages of this race anyway.
Yes, I would guess that would be the last lap because, 2:29.7 is the fastest lap of the race by Ryan Hooker, and there was a bit less than that left as they crossed the line. This is a timed race. It could be tricky to judge with timed races, so I think we are now on the final lap of this race. Szaruta leads by just under 2 seconds ahead of Ryan Hooker. A bit of a lock-up there from Hooker into Village. Skillicorn in 3rd, then behind him is Jaroslav Cherney in the red car. He was desperate for a good result here to try and move up the championship table. He missed round 1 at Alton Park, and he wants to close in on the points lead. He's had a couple of podiums so far. Somebody running a bit wide there. I think that might have been Will Stillwell. He's had a very wayward race. There's Gianni Lenz. We've not seen a lot of him so far this season. We've mired down in the midfield in most of his races. Trying to close on Tom Willis, who's now up to 7th in the all-white Caterham there. I have to say that car does look impressive in that white livery. Another look on the inside there, side by side with Gianni Lenz. Just behind them is Steve Arnell. Jason Knight now completing the top 10. They head through Brooklands. It's still Szaruta from Hooker at the front, and the lead has increased. It's looking good for win number 2 of the season for Christian Szaruta.
Yep, so far it's looking okay. He's got still a bit of a comfort gap there, hasn't he, as he heads around Copse that time. 2.2 seconds over Ryan Hooker we're watching on screen here. So Ryan Hooker, the perennial bridesmaid, looks like at the moment, unless anything unforeseen happens in this last mile or so of this track, he looks like he is going to be taking the runner-up spot once more. But another consistent set of results for him, and we have seen Szaruta sort of dropping down a bit through the field on 1 or 2 occasions. So, but I think he still is our second place driver in the championship. So Ryan Hooker will want to try and reverse this for race 2.
Well, Ryan Hooker, he's been a model of consistency this year. 2 seconds, a third, 2 fourths and a fifth in the 6 races we've had so far this year. It looks like it's going to be second again, though, sadly for him, behind Christian Szaruta, who's pulled away by another 0.3 of a second. He's 2.5 seconds ahead of the 1-to-1 driver coaching man Ryan Hooker. Chris Skillicorn on for his best results of the year. The best he'd had up to now was a 4th in the first race of the year at Alton Park. Missed the trip to Zandvoort, as we said earlier, but it's looking good for Christian Szaruta, the reigning champion in the DPR Motorsport car. The team leader David Rowe dropped out while fighting in for the lead early on. It's going to be a win for Christian Szaruta. He comes across the line, takes the checkered flag. Second place goes to Ryan Hooker. Chris Skillicorn gets his best results of the season in 3rd. Jaroslav Cherney will be a bit frustrated, I think, with 4th place there. And well done to Andrew Parker coming in for a fine 5th place. That's his best result of the season ahead of Paul Fernie. Half a photo finish behind Tom Willis ahead of Gianni Lenz and Steve Arnell. Ian Joyner takes 10th, and the rest of them come home. So a rather fraught race, to say the least, there on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit for them, Chris.
Yeah, we say how difficult it is to run as close as they do and how much skill is on show many a times. And tonight we just saw that it can tip over into a bit of contact every now and again. And obviously some of that we'll be looking at after the race, no doubt. But yeah, I guess it just shows how difficult it is to race that close for that many laps. And let's see how they go on in race 2.
I'll have a look at the result then. Christian Szaruta, the winner by 2.1 seconds over Ryan Hooker, with Chris Skillicorn getting his first podium of the season in 3rd. Jaroslav Cherney 4th ahead of Andrew Parker. That's his best result of the year. In 6th place, Paul Fernie, half ahead of Tom Willis, then Gianni Lenz, Steve Arnell and Ian Joyner rounding out the top 10. Jason Knight 11th ahead of the recovering John Lang after his spin. Likewise, Will Stillwell in 13th. Then James Fowler, Hudson Knight and Alan Curtis completed the finishers. Sadly, we lost David Rowe and Lee Green, so they'll have to start from the back for race 2.
Yep, like I say, suspicious that they're both in the same location, so maybe that is what's caught them out. I'm wondering whether they're hopefully able to rejoin the server. I can't see them on there yet, but we'll just wait and see whether they can rejoin for race 2. Hope they can. But what a result for Christian Szaruta. Again, we've only had 2 winners this year, so he's maintained that. And Ryan Hooker, we've mentioned already. Skillicorn, great to see him up there in that 3rd place, and Cherney, as you said, going to be disappointed. I think Parker's going to be fairly happy after receiving that clout to remain in that 5th place, and he'll be looking forward to his car being repaired for race 2. Fernie off a great consistent result.
Yes, indeed. Paul Fernie off a fine 6th position. That's one of his best results so far this year. Certainly Tom Willis as well. He's quite a way down the points table. We've only seen him out in round 1 at Alton Park on the A grid, so he's made it up into the top 10. Gianni Lenz just behind him. He'll be pleased with that as well. He's 10th in the championship coming into this round. So we await the cars to line up on the grid for race 2. Just a little bit of refuelling needed for most of them before another thrash of 15 minutes around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit.
Can imagine on a hot evening like this, it's going to be fluids they're needing most, and get some water down them. It'll be hot work in the simulators out there, as it would be in real world if you're racing. What is it, 29 odd degrees today? So let's hope that they are getting that fuel in ready for an impressive race 2, hopefully.
Yes, it's a bit of refueling for the drivers needed as well then. Start waiting for the cars to reappear from the pit lane onto the grid here on the legendary Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, of course. Racing held here since the conclusion of the Second World War. The very first Formula One World Championship Grand Prix was held at Silverstone back in 1950. Alfa Romeo were the dominant team back then. Even the royal family were in attendance for such an occasion. And just about every major name in motorsport has appeared on this great circuit in British and world motorsport since that great date. So the cars are back on the grid then. Our thanks again to DPR Motorsport's one-to-one driver coaching for their support of the championship. Thank you to all the marshals here at Silverstone as well. We could not go racing without them. They've been, I think, recovering David Rowe's car from the Hanger Straight. Is he there at the back of the grid? Yes, I think I see a green roll cage.
Yeah, it does look like he might well be back on that grid then, so obviously you had to wait for the server to kick to the next session. But yeah, it looks like we've got David Rowe up there, which would be great. Let's have a quick see whether we can see him from above. Yep, that is definitely the David Rowe machine on the grid. So yep, we are in for a full grid, and he's got a lot of work to do from where he is, hasn't he? But nevertheless, I'm sure he's looking forward to the challenge.
Yes, watch the fireworks from the back of the grid. Lee Green down there is good seeing us back out as well in the orange liveried car as well. Still lovely weather here at Silverstone on this fine summer evening. Can Ryan Hooker finally banish his, I wouldn't say demons really this year, finally can he break out and score a race victory? Chris Skillicorn on the second row in the black car with the red stripe down the centre, Jaroslav Cherney in the red machine. Good to have Andrew Parker well up there as well after his best ever finish this year in race 1, taking 5th in the grey car. Paul Fernie starts alongside him, so quite a few drivers getting their best results of the year. 1 or 2 top names in the points chart, as well as Max Haynes absent tonight, so the likes of Matt Shepherd, Tom McEwing and Jack Mason as well. We'll see them back out.
Paul Donkin as well, but he's been
yes.
featured very heavily in the top of the grid. But let's share this around a bit. Let's get Ryan on the podium, the top of the podium, shall we? This time, let's hope for that.
Yes. So just had a word from Dan Mitchell, who says the Wi-Fi reset mid-race at DPR. Oh dear.
Let's hope that doesn't happen again.
Yes, indeed. The red lights are on. Race 2 for the caterhamracer.com 270R Championship gets underway here at Silverstone. We're underway down towards Abbey for the first time. They are all away cleanly, and it is Christian Szaruta who gets away well from pole position, but Ryan Hooker diving to the inside. Jaroslav Černý dives in as well in the red car. Săruta's just about held his lead. Jaroslav Černý at Farm Corner trying to go through into second place, but he'll be on the outside for the right-hander at Village. Tucked in behind them is Chris Skillicorn, then it's Andrew Parker and Paul Ferniehoff, but Szaruta has already made a slight break. Černý up into second place as they go through the loop. Side by side for third. Not the best of starts for Ryan Hooker. We got chaos in the pack though. Steve Arnell has gone around. Also Gianni Lenz is involved. I think that's Andrew Parker. Is it as well? No, Parker's still up there side by side with Tom Willis. That may have been James Fowler who was involved there, in fact, towards the back of the field. So a bit of chaos in the midfield at the loop, but heading down towards Brooklands, it's Szaruta who leads, chased by Jaroslav Černý. Ryan Hooker back up into third ahead of Chris Skillicorn.
Yeah, I think I did see James Fowler alongside Arnell as they just went round there, just touched wheels very lightly, but it was enough to send Arnell round, and then chaos, as you say, as they all tried to avoid a spun car in the middle of the pack. But it is Christian Szaruta leading them around ahead of Černý, then Hooker, then Skillicorn, Parker, Willis, Stillwell and Ferniehoff. Lang and Joyner then make up the top 10.
Good to see Ian Joyner going well. He missed the opening round at Alton Park, but has been improving ever since then as the leaders head out through Copse Corner for the first time up towards the Beckett's complex. Jaroslav Černý looking determined for his first win of the season, looking to stop a Szaruta double. Then it's Hooker, Skillicorn, Parker, Willis, Will Stillwell in 7th place. He's made a good start up into that 7th already ahead of Paul Ferniehoff, who styles himself as the Szaruta Slayer, Paul Ferniehoff, but down in 8th place, no, 9th place at the moment, because John Lang has come through. He's had a good first lap as well as they head down the Hanger Straight. Jaroslav Černý, the Czech Republic-born driver, is ready to try and slipstream his way into the lead past Christian Szaruta. Very close indeed as they head under the bridge down towards the very fast right-hander. Is Černý going to make a move here on the inside? Not quite close enough.
Not quite that time through. Ferniehoff got that title as he defeated Christian in one of our fun and sort of off-season events, and therefore we've allowed him that title because there's not many people that beat Szaruta, and that's why it's been so impressive that Haynes come along this season and absolutely stake that dominance. Things moving around a bit still. I'm hearing a bit of gravel in the background as well there, but Andrew Parker still seems like he's heading off and around. Lee Green looks like he's the man that may have been out of action, and Gianni Lenz also coming into the pits at the moment. So either a jump start or some issue. There's Lee Green gathering himself back up into the race again.
So he's had a moment somewhere. We lose Gianni Lenz into the pits. Hopefully he'll rejoin as we watch the lead battle. Just a couple of commenters coming in. Toby Lonsdale is cheering on DPR. Hello to you, Toby. And Ruben Medhurst, hi to you as well. He's cheering on Will Stillwell by the sound of it as well. Where is Will? He's made it up into 5th place, so he's come through well, having started down on about the 6th or 7th row for this race. He's flying through the order. Yeah,
we saw how he was willing to shove his car down the inside in race 1, wasn't he? So clearly the early laps there, he's made good with the spins that happened, plus obviously inserting this his machine into places where maybe it wasn't wanted, but he's made it through, and like you say, up into 5th place.
Beg your pardon? Anyway, Tom Willis trying to close in on him. A little bit of a slide there as they come through the first of the double right-handers at Luffield. The first half dozen breaking away slightly now. Szaruta leads by 0.4 of a second over Jaroslav Černý. Then it's Hooker in 3rd place. Chris Skillicorn trying to keep up. Then about a second back is Will Stillwell in that 5th position. Parker 7th, Joyner 8th, Ferniehoff is down to 9th, Jason Knight's rounding out the top 10. Hudson Knight going well in 12th behind John Lang. Then Arnell is 13th. David Rowe has only made it up to 14th so far, so not a huge amount of progress up the order from the back row of the grid for him. Looks like Gianni Lenz has got going again at the back, so that may have been a penalty.
Yeah, I think he probably had to maybe jump start that sort of signified. Normally that's what you need to do. The drive-through for. There's an absolute pack of cars involving Hudson and Jason Knight. So the two Knights side by side with John Lang just on their outside as they head through that complex. Let's follow them as they head out onto the Hanger Straight. There is Jason. So father leads son at the moment, and John Lang getting involved in that battle as well.
Yes, down the straight, Jason Knight and Hudson, they've raced in Citroen C1s, among other things, in the past. I remember Paul Donkin racing in the C1s as well, sadly not here this evening. 3 wide as they go into the Stowe corner there, and this contact. Hudson Knight goes sideways. He's just about gathered that up. That was John Lang on the inside. He saved it as well. Good save. That's very high speed through there. And they're frantically fighting with Jason here, who's in 10th place. John and Hudson in 11th. And 12th behind. They just about make it into club. Who was that coming through on the inside? That looked like it was David Rowe. Yes,
there is the David Rowe car, indeed. And absolute pack of cars here. I think David Rowe probably got caught out with that spin of early on. Therefore, he didn't make the progress that Will Stillwell did. But he's in an absolute fight for this pack here. In the moment, he's in 12th place. But you can see 10th place is just up the road to the 2 Knights.
Well, Rowe just nearly made up 4 places in 1 corner, so he's making progress now. He's got the Knight father and son duo in front of him now. Steve Arnell and John Lang battling away behind him. This is brilliant towards the back of the field. It's still Christian Szaruta, incidentally, who leads the way ahead of Jaroslav Czerny and Ryan Hooker. Hudson Knight passes his father down the inside there, going towards the loop, coming out of Village. Terrific stuff here. David Rowe, though, is on both of them, and he's up the inside there, coming out of Aintree, down the Wellington Straight. The crowd in the background are loving this, as David Rowe in the DPR car, under fire from Jason Knight. They head back past the BRDC clubhouse in the background, through Brooklands. Who's going to be latest on the brakes? They're all just about holding it together there. And David Rowe in the DPR Motorsport run, FP0 sponsored number 6 car, comes out ahead. He's up in the 10th place.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you very much to FP0 for sponsoring or help supporting our race series. I really appreciate them. If you're looking for turnkey simulator solutions, then FP0 Simulators is the place to go for that. But Hudson Knight has not given up the hope of that position. David Rowe did manage the situation very well late on the brakes into Brooklands and has managed to keep that advantage as they head out now towards Beckett's again.
Quarter of a second in it for the lead, meanwhile, between Szaruta and Czerny. In fact, that's coming down, I think, very slightly as they come through the Beckett's complex. There's Hooker in 3rd, then Skillicorn, Stillwell, Tom Willis and Andrew Parker. And then this big fight for 8th, Joyner against Ferneyhoff, ahead of this massive fight we've been watching for 10th place. Got 7 cars together in there. James Fowler at the back of it, recovering from his spin. There's Lee Green at the back of that group. Gianni Lenz, after his penalty, we believe it's a penalty anyway, is the final runner. There is Jaroslav Czerny chasing Christian Szaruta for the lead as they head out of Stowe up towards the Vale. We've got just over 7.5 minutes to go, so we're coming up to half distance in this race 2 here at Silverstone for the caterhamracer.com 270R Championship. Christian Szaruta looking for his 3rd win of the season.
Yep, Czerny looking for his first. He's only joined us a little bit later in the season, had to get to grips with the new 270R model, but has done so quickly, and he came across a gap to Szaruta quite comfortably to rejoin him at the lead of this race. Has taken Hooker with him, but in those last couple of corners it now looks like the kind of gaps have sprung open again. I wonder whether there's different parts of the track they're both strong at.
They come through towards Beckett's once again. Szaruta holding his lead at the moment. Chris Skillicorn not quite able to catch up. He's a 2.5 seconds off the 1-2-1 of Ryan Hooker. Fairly well spaced out for the lead. The main focus is still that battle down in 10th and 11th place. Rowe now ahead of Lang, Jason Knight, Arnold. Hudson Knight's been shuffled back, unfortunately, in all that. He's down to 16th place now ahead of Alan Curtis, with Gianni Lenz at the back of the field. Leaders head down towards Brooklands. Always a tighter line taken by Ryan Hooker through there, the professional driver coach. If you're looking to improve your racing skills, then go and see Ryan Hooker for some tuition. If you've maybe just got your ARDS license, you're learning to race, that's the ideal place to go for some extra coaching. Maybe if you're looking to get into Caterham racing, he's raced Porsches as well. He's raced everything, Ryan Hooker has, over the years. We're on board with him as we head up towards Tops Corner. Keeping it steady there over the curbs on the inside. Just kick a little bit of curb on the outside. You can see the tarmac runoff area there. Very easy to run out wide there over the curb towards the gravel.
He is just outside the tow range. So he just wants to get a couple more tenths and then he'll be feeling the full benefit of the tow as he balances the rear end there. A little bit wide there, probably wider than he wanted to, as he takes maximum curb on the inside to get your full run out here through Chapel and out onto Hanger Straight. You can see that the gap to Cherney though is looking like it's coming down there, and he will start to feel the effect of that toe, and Cherney certainly looking like he's also trying to hound that Szaruta. But the gaps here remaining fairly consistent, so let's have a look for some closer racing out on the track, and certainly John Lang is still having a battle with the Knight Senior there. David Rowe pulling away from that battle now and heading towards Fernie Hoff and Ian Joyner.
Yes, Ian Joyner still 8th, Fernie Hoff 9th. There's up the inside. Oh, a little bit of wheel banging there on the way through. Excuse me, says John Lang as he gets past Jason Knight into Stowe Corner. Jason trying to fight back. Here's the battle between Joyner and Fernie Hoff around the outside into Club, trying to get the inside away for the second pass of the complex. He doesn't quite do so. Here comes David Rowe up onto their tails. It's in the twisty bits by the look of it, where David Rowe in the DPR car is the slightly stronger. The three of them head line astern down the Hamilton straights. 4.5 minutes of the race to go, so at least a couple more laps. Christian Szaruta leads by 0.7 of a second. The inside goes Fernie Hoff now as Joyner runs a little bit wide. They're almost 3 wide coming through Farm Corner up towards the right at Village. They get on the brakes through here, and Paul Fernie Hoff trying to send it up the inside. David Rowe tries to go through the middle. It doesn't quite work for him though, and Ian Joyner holds the place. Terrific fight between these three.
Yeah, only 4 minutes left, which is why it looks like David Rowe is getting a little bit desperate. He's made it across that gap very quickly, but obviously it's easier to make it across a gap than it is to make it through the cars in front of you. He's done it before where he pulls to the inside here. He's got another toe to pick on Joyner there as well as they head into Brooklands. He's going to have to be very late on the brakes if he wants to make it around the outside. Can he do it outside of 3 of them going into Brooklands? You wouldn't expect it's going to work. He is late on the brakes. He tries to swoop it around. Fernie Hoff is a little bit crossed up, and they do somehow make it through 3 wide. David Rowe is now down the inside for the Luffield complex. There you go. It is possible. It's been done.
That's the move of the season so far from David Rowe. That was a superb piece of driving. He deliberately went to the outside into Brooklands. He feinted to go around the outside, so he had the inside line for the right-hander at Luffield. I remember Rickard Rydell in touring cars was a good exponent of that move. They called it the Swedish Shuffle. It was Charlie Cox that used to term it that in the late 1990s. But David Rowe, 2 places gained in one of the most impressive moves I've seen this season. Yeah,
and very difficult to do. It's slippery out there. Fernie Hoff lost the rear of the car, which I think aided that, but then he had the inside for Luffield and really therefore made that stick. Everything else up front is fairly consistent. Jason Knight still having that battle with Ian Joyner, but this trio that we've been watching coming through now, they're getting caught by that Knight and Lang, who have absolutely nose to tail still following on this battle. Fernie Hoff has made it back through though, so Rowe was still making that progress, but he's lost out temporarily as they head down the Hanger Straight.
Just under 3 minutes to go now, side by side then for this 8th place. Fernie Hoff has the inside line for Stowe Corner. The patchwork car just about holds the place. 1.3 seconds in it now for the lead. Christian Szaruta looking fairly safe up front for his second win of the day here at Silverstone. Ryan Hooker has caught Jaroslav Cherney meanwhile for seconds. Only a quarter of a second between those two. As Rowe, is he going to try his signature move again through Club this time? No, he's not. Wait to see what happens at Luffield. So Ian Joyner's lost 2 places in the grey car there. He's been shuffled back, and not far behind them are Lang and Jason Knight. Steve Arnell 13th behind them, recovering from his off on the first lap. Then Lee Green, Hudson Knight, James Fowler and Gianni Lenz. Alan Curtis has dropped to the back of the field. This is the battle for second place. We join it coming through the loop with Ryan Hooker all over the back of Jaroslav Cherney. Ryan Hooker, his consistent run of top 5 results this year. Still no victory though. He's in 3rd in the points, just a point behind Christian Szaruta coming into tonight's racing here at Silverstone. Of course, Christian Szaruta with 2 wins will take the points lead on scratch, if you like, from Max Haynes with these 2 wins with Max absent. But of course, there's drop scores to come into play later in the season.
Yeah, we allow 2 drop scores throughout the season, so you get to drop the 2 worst scores you make throughout the championship. Obviously, that's to allow people to miss an event without absolutely upsetting the championship. Just like in real life events can take precedence over motor racing, and in the sim world, we repeat that for them as well.
So Szaruta leads. Here comes Hooker on the inside. There's just over a minute left on the clock, so I think this will be the last lap as Ryan Hooker up the inside of the Copse. He goes through into second place. So Ryan Hooker goes up to second. Is it going to be a 4th second place of the season for him? Not if Jaroslav Cherney's got anything to do with it after his moment in race 1. He's determined to fight back in the bright red car. We switch to our overhead camera from the helicopter as they go through. Beckett's on board with Jaroslav Cherney, trying his hardest to close up here long-time sim racing enthusiasts. There's a lot of work behind the scenes for Caterham mods for racing online. No mods needed here though, just good driving for him to get ahead of Ryan Hooker. They're almost side by side down into Stoke Corner. He's going for the outside Jaroslav Černý. Ryan Hooker holds him off to the inside. Yes, just about holds the place.
Just about. I don't think there's anyone in the world who's probably turned more laps than Jaroslav Černý in Assetto Corsa. He's been here since the beginning and absolute stalwart fan and loves this Caterham mod. He's looking down the inside but has to back away, sort of has to keep the anchors on so that Ryan Hooker is still maintaining that. 1 second to go, so this will be the last corner then.
Yes, it looks like it. It's going to be another win for Christian Szaruta. He's going to take the double here at Silverstone. The checkered flag goes out. It's a Szaruta double, but it's a photo finish across the line. For second place, we'll have to wait for the timing screen for that one. Fourth goes to Chris Skillicorn, and Tom Willis, a good fifth. We hardly mentioned him. Sixth goes to Will Stillwell. Good run through for him. Andrew Parker, seventh. David Rowe takes eighth. What a fine run from him in the end, with one of the passing moves of the season so far. Paul Ferniehoff, ninth. Ian Joyner completing the top 10. I think Ryan Hooker may have got second. We'll have to go to the timing screen for that one. A photo finish with Jaroslav Černý. A brilliant battle between those two. Everybody is now in. Alan Curtis finishes at the back in the 43 car, but he's made it home. All 18 drivers deserve full credit for some good racing here tonight. Let's have a look at the results then. It is a win for Christian Szaruta by 2.3 seconds. Ryan Hooker defeats Jaroslav Černý by just a few hundredths of a second to take that second place. Chris Skillicorn in fourth, ahead of Tom Willis, just holding off Will Stillwell. Andrew Parker in seventh. Then David Rowe running through from the back of the grid to eighth, ahead of Paul Ferniehoff. Ian Joyner completing the top 10. Behind them, the battle for 11th, won by John Lang, just ahead of Jason Knight. Steve Arnold 13th, Lee Green in 14th, ahead of Hudson Knight. He was up and down the midfield in that one. Gianni Lenz taking 16th after a pit visit. James Fowler 17th, and Alan Curtis completing the finishers. Well done to everybody. A superb couple of races here at Silverstone this evening.
Yeah, I have absolutely enjoyed that racing. A little bit more contact than we'd necessarily want to see, and normally they sort of manage that a little bit better. Disappointing again for Rowe, missing out on that podium opportunities, but did do a good fight back there at the end, didn't he? But Christian Szaruta now taking over that dominant spot. Still only had two winners, different winners this season so far, and Christian Szaruta maintaining that. Ryan Hooker again, bridesmaid, ever the bridesmaid. Černý just losing out at the end there, but a good race nonetheless. Chris Skillicorn, Tom Willis, like you say, didn't really mention him too much. He came through late in race one and did that great to fifth place in race two, and Stillwell, another strong result there to see him back into sixth after fighting for the lead, but with a bit more of enthusiastic overtakes. I think if he'd calmed that down, maybe he'd be still up there at this point. So yeah, good racing by our teams out there. Let's see if we can get any of our podium drivers in for a quick chat in the commentary box, and let's have a quick look who we've got. Let's start with our third place drivers. Again, no, unfortunately, third places aren't in, so let's go for Ryan Hooker, who is our second place driver. See whether he's got comms on. Hey Ryan, have you got us in the commentary box?
Yes, very good evening, Chris.
Another bridesmaid, another runner-up, but some good racing nonetheless.
Yes, thanks very much. Yeah, two more good results. Just can't quite manage that top step just yet. Everyone's just doing the same times, no mistakes. Just can't quite close the gap there. But managed to sneak a second place in the second race on the last lap there. Yeah,
absolutely close going over the line, just a few hundredths in it. But I mean, the racing is ultra close. Like you say, there is no time in it, and there's a lot of tactics that are going on out there. And obviously, Christian's just both times has managed to ping off just as the battle for second, third sort of kicked off, and it's sort of seen him good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, congratulations to him. Just as ever, a nice, solid job. Got really obviously great pace, which makes it difficult for others. And yeah, if we have just that little bit of battling, and I thought Sterne was sensible behind Chris. They were just both eking away, and I was just trying to hang on and thinking they're going to start battling at some point, and it didn't really happen. Yeah. And so fortunately I was able just to get a little bit closer and nick another position.
There we go. Another racing evening done, and I'd say a good championship set of results, and we are looking forward to seeing you on the top step at some point this year.
Yep, we'll certainly keep trying. Thanks very much.
See you soon. All right, and let's get our Christian Szaruta in here. Double race winner. Christian, have you got us in the commentary box?
I do.
A very good evening. Now that Haynes is out the way, you can take the top step again.
Well, yes, maximisation is required this evening. Yes, Max has been a bit of a pain, so his absence has been a welcome break to allow.
The banter started already.
Yes.
But I mean, I'd say two absolutely strong results. You timed getting to the lead as always. David Rowe disappearing off in session one obviously helped things a little bit, but you did just seem to be in the right place at the right time just to ping off the front, and you had enough pace to manage that gap.
Yeah, so I knew I had a bit of a pace, but I don't think the qualifying was representative of the true pace, because I didn't get any slipstreaming like David or Ryan in the qualifying. So I knew I had a bit of a pace advantage, and it was a case of just waiting. So in the first race, it was a case of just waiting for that, half a second gap to appear, and then really pushing as hard as I could and sending a hot lap. And again, I think Shirley made a little bit of a mistake with about 5 or 10 minutes to go in the second race, which gave me that critical half a second. I think that's when I set the fastest lap of the race to open up the gap to make sure he can turn back in.
Yeah, you all seem to set a fast lap on the same lap, but I think yours was just that little bit more pushing out there. So yeah, and then it just spread out as the time goes on. But so what are you going to do about Max Haynes when he's back then? But obviously 2 wins is going to help you in the championship towards to catch some of that gap up. And I guess there's no slack for him at the moment. He's got 2 drop scores already guaranteed.
Yeah, and it's all about the momentum. So hopefully the momentum will start to swing back in my favour. As I said before, I've not really had a chance to jump on Assetto very much this season. So now I've kind of got a few wins clawed back on Max. I might have to start putting in the laps to make sure we can keep it nice and close for a grand finale.
Well, we look forward to seeing that. So, yeah, as you say, we'll look out for that momentum then as we see you next time out. Well done tonight. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. And, of course, highly satisfying to see David Rowe absolutely know that.
Indeed.
Yes.
See you next time.
Bye.
Yeah, unfortunate for David Rowe to have that disconnect. Unfortunately, there's it's a bit like a mechanical. It just happens in simulator world, doesn't it? But nevertheless, good good racing action tonight. And the next one is indeed Thruxton on the 12th of July.
Yes, indeed. Looking forward to that. The fastest circuit in the country. Then we go to Snetterton and Donington in August to conclude the championship. But the next real-life Caterham action is coming up on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, 24th and 25th of June, racing alongside the F4 British Championship as well. And we'll be on in the commentary box for the live stream for BARC TV for that one. Like I
say, we'll see some of the drivers we've seen out there today. We've got the Road Sports 270Rs, 310Rs. It's they really do race as hard as this in real life as they have on the simulator. So if you've enjoyed watching racing tonight, why not come onto the banks and come and speak to some of the drivers? They're always happy to share their love for motorsport, which they all have.
Yes, indeed. Thanks a lot to all the marshals here at Silverstone as well. That concludes the action for this evening, and a big thank you as always, Chris, for joining us in the commentary box tonight. It's been great fun as always.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it as well. I'm looking forward to the next one, but let me just thank all of our sponsors and supporters before we leave you. So a big thank you to DPR Motorsport, your competitive advantage, one-to-one on-track coaching and simulator training with Ryan Hooker, and FP0 simulators. We will see you next time. Goodbye.
Good night. Bye.